And hello to millions of Americans all across this land who are gathered in sadness and sorrow to mourn Charlie Kirk, but also to dedicate ourselves to finishing his mission and achieving victory in his name. The day that Charlie died, the angels wept, but those tears have been turned into fire in our hearts. And that fire burns with a righteous fury that our enemies cannot comprehend or understand.
Okay, but pause it. That's a very strange and a very fast sort of alchemy, isn't it? From angelic tears to fire and fury. A fire and fury that your unnamed enemies are not able to comprehend or understand. Well, yeah, sure, we can't. Because unless your enemies are highly skilled psychologists with a particular expertise in psychopaths, then it would be incomprehensible to a normal person. Honestly, it's very strange. But let me just say this, because I know where it's going. I know where he's going with this, obviously. You are transforming shock and grief into a mandate for oppression and violence that will just cause more grief and shock. Look, think about the normal human reaction, okay? The normal human reaction when someone who's close to you, supposedly, dies. Much less when you witness their gruesome murder, okay? Someone who was a firebrand, who was a demagogue of extreme rhetoric, an extremely confrontational, hostile personality. I think we can all agree that Charlie Kirk was that. And his life gets extinguished in the blink of an eye. Okay? I would think that the normal human reaction is to reflect on our mortality, to reflect upon the monstrosity of violence and hate, and to remind yourself about human vulnerability and human weakness. Don't you think? You think it would make you think about your own inevitable appointment with Allah, your own appointment with God. In my opinion, that would be the normal human reaction. I mean, I know that they say that there are like, what, 5 stages of grief, 5 stages of mourning. And I think that the second stage is supposed to be anger or resentment about the loss. But that's not what this is. This is weaponization. In my opinion, this is an inhumanly cynical and manipulative commandeering of either real or vicarious trauma, specifically to pursue a political agenda. That's not heartfelt, that's heartless. This is mourning as justification. Yeah, go on.
When I see Erica and her strength and her courage, I'm reminded of a famous expression. The storm whispers to the warrior, "You cannot withstand my strength." And the warrior whispers back, "I am the storm."
Okay. Well, first, obviously, that's not actually a famous expression. It's an internet meme. That's like something he saw on Instagram. Unless he's just misquoting Walter White from Breaking Bad, you know. They are the danger, they are the one who knocks. Is that what he's saying? I don't know. Wallahi, this is a deeply unserious generation of people, subhanAllah. I mean, again, look at the language, okay? Storms are destructive, they're chaotic, they're dangerous. And you're saying that you want to outstorm the storm, not calm the storm. Not be a shelter or build a shelter from the storm, not to protect people, because you think it sounds cool to say that you're the storm, you know, because you admire and you aspire to be destructive and dangerous and damaging and ferocious. You think that's cool. You think that's power. You think that's leadership, because you have no idea how to lead to, only lead against. Just not hating or not being violent or not being destructive is not an option with you, to just not be those things. The most that anyone can ever hope for from you is just that you redirect your hatred, redirect your destructiveness and your violence in another direction. That's the most we can hope for. I think we'll see shortly which direction that's going to be in his speech, which direction they want to direct their hatred and anger and destructiveness.
We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion.
Again, this is such an abnormal response, don't you think? This is abnormal. It's such an abnormal posture to take. at a memorial ceremony. I mean, it would be abnormal. If it was sincere, it would be abnormal. See, this is where you have to separate the rhetoric, which is already a bizarre reaction to the killing of a tremendously polarizing figure. I mean, if this was a sincere reaction, that reaction would be, as a sincere reaction, it would be bad enough. But it gets worse, in my opinion, because I think that this is a completely calculated, completely manipulative political hijacking of what that audience would see as a tragic event, which makes the reaction incredibly cold-hearted. It makes it incredibly cold-hearted and pathological. There's literally no actual sentiment, no actual mourning, no actual grief. There's only the recognition that sentiment, that mourning and grief exist among their followers, and they are useful levers for basically inflaming people. I mean, saying we have this fury, we have this passion, we have this determination. This isn't a description. It's an instruction. You understand me? He's not telling them we are this way. He's telling them to be this way. And he wants them to be that way in order to mobilize their shock and their bewilderment and their sadness into the intensification of the same polarization that caused the event that they are supposedly there to mourn. You understand what I'm saying? It's absolutely vicious. It's psychopathic.
Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry.
There it is. That's what it's about. Your lineage. Evoking that fable of a straight line from Athens to Monticello to Washington, D.C. The fable about Athens and Rome's virtues and their greatness. You know, how wonderful they were. Both Mediterranean empires, by the way. Mediterranean empires that got bleached by that fable. And both of which would have been forgotten to history if the Muslims had not interpreted their works for you. You would have forgotten about them. And when I say their works, bear in mind that a great deal of those works attributed to Athens and Rome were taken from Egypt. Both of those cities and those empires were built by slaves, just like Philadelphia and Monticello, built by slavery and bloody conquest. Monticello, that's where Thomas Jefferson first started raping 14-year-old Sally Hemings, where his own children from her worked as his slaves. His own children worked as his slaves. I mean, evoking Athens and evoking Rome is obviously right out of the white supremacist Nazi toolkit. So yes, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear whose actual lineage he's talking about. I mean, the funny thing is, Stephen Miller, that's not his lineage. Not at all. Miller is a Jew from a family that came from, I think, Belarus, from Eastern Europe. He has no connection to Athens. He has no connection to Rome. He has no connection to Philadelphia or Monticello. I think his family came to the U.S. in like the 1930s. No doubt fleeing from people in Europe who talked exactly like he's talking right now. You know he wanted to add Berlin to that lineage. You know he did. But okay, everyone knows what he's talking about. Everyone knows who he's talking about here. He's talking about white people, so-called. Europeans. That's the we. That's the us that he's talking about. Everyone understands that. It's perfectly clear. Which, of course, means that the enemies that he's talking about are not external, but internal. Americans who are so-called minorities, who are immigrants. You know, that's who he's talking about. But also, and everyone needs to understand this too, he is showing you what white means. White here is a political identity. It's a class identity. It's an agenda, not a so-called race. And if you don't share that political identity and that class and that political agenda, then your white skin is not going to save you. I mean, the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk is a white kid from just about the whitest state in America. So no, white here means, that you're aligned with the regime. Western means that you're aligned with the regime. Your lineage and your legacy means all those who align with the regime throughout history. And alignment with the regime means total hatred, total hostility against anyone who isn't.
Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light.
Okay. Well, obviously, this is ahistorical. Women in Western history, in European history, were inanimate objects. They were property, owned by their fathers, owned by their husbands, and passed on to their brothers-in-law when their husband died. They were barred from any political role whatsoever. They didn't raise anything up. They were forcibly and relentlessly kept down. No, she isn't standing on anyone's shoulders. Not at all. Your whole so-called civilization is standing on the backs of women. It's standing on the backs of slaves. It's standing on the backs of serfs, of colonized people. It's built on their backs and on their blood and on their bones. Your shining city on the hill is sitting atop a mass grave. I don't know what thousands of years you're even talking about. What are you talking about, thousands of years? Just 1,000 years ago, Europe was an abysmal swamp of disease, of poverty, of feudal misery, illiteracy, filth, and ignorance. That was just 1,000 years ago. What about thousands? No, come on.
The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us.
Okay, look, we all know how unhinged this sounds. And we all know what he means by light, and who he means by light, and what and who he means by dark. Don't be fooled, though. If you're an American, don't be fooled. The evil and the wickedness that he's talking about is you. He's talking about you. You understand me? He's not trying to amp that crowd up so that America can go and bomb another foreign country. No, he's talking about you. He's talking about you and your fellow Americans. He's talking about a force and a tyrannical power that everyone in the world can imagine. Everyone in the world can imagine this force and this power, and they can conceive of it because we have all been victimized by it. You know what that is? That's the brutal, abusive police officer who beats and shoots people in the street, and then he comes home with that same rage and that same violence towards his own wife and his own family. That's what that is. Understand, he's not threatening us. He's threatening you.
Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing.
See, he's dehumanizing you. Just like you dehumanized us, Muslims, for the last 20 years. This is George W. Bush's post-9/11 speech, except it's directed at other Americans. You understand me? Your only certification as a human being is your complete alignment with the regime now. And part of that alignment means that you have to co-sign, violence, oppression, brutality, and dehumanization of other Americans. If you imagine that a critic or that a dissenter, if you imagine that they have any human value whatsoever, then you're a traitor. It's treasonous for you to believe in the humanity of anyone who is not on board with dehumanizing your fellow citizens. Do you understand? I told you that Trump's job is to dismantle the United States of America. I told you that. To dismantle and sabotage America, and that's what he's doing. This speech is just building the mandate for a vast and perpetual social annihilation of any rights or any freedom that you might have had to complain about or to oppose your own social annihilation, your economic annihilation, maybe even your physical annihilation and the annihilation of your rights and your freedom. Pay attention to that.
You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal.
Isn't that what I said?
You have immortalized Charlie Kirk.
Isn't that what I said? Okay, again. Actually read through what he's saying here. Produce, create, build. This is class definition, basically. He's talking about the rich. He's talking about investors. He's talking about owners. Because look, historically, obviously, historically, all the production, all the creation, and all of the building in the West has been done by slaves and by serfs and by the poor, by the working class. But credit is only given to the owners of the slaves, the owners of the serfs. So he's not talking about the people who actually do the work. He's talking about the people who own the workers. Do you understand me? They're the ones who produce. They're the ones who create. They're the ones who build. The workers are nothing because they don't own what they produce. They don't own what they create, and they don't own what they build, and therefore they have nothing and they are nothing. So when he says humanity, he means the wealthy. The rest of you are nothing. You're evil. You're wicked. You're envious leeches, fomenting resentment against your oppressors who are good, who are virtuous, who are noble. This is a justification. Wallahi, this is another justification for another forever war, American forever war, but an internal one, all for their Lord and Savior, Charlie Kirk.
And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us, you cannot slow us, you cannot stop us, you cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder.
Okay, again, he's not talking to me. You understand? He's not talking to us, the Muslims. He's talking to you. He's declaring war against you and against every American that doesn't fit his definition of human, i.e. the poor, i.e. so-called black people, brown people, indigenous people, immigrants, dissenters, critics. That's who he's talking about.
Because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic.
This civilization, the West, this republic, means rich white people. That's what he's talking about. Fighting against, as always, the most vulnerable, the most defenseless, the most helpless communities. Always. It's always like that. That dragon never wakes up when it gets poked by anyone with power. No, that dragon is very timid when it comes to anyone who can fight back. That dragon can look the other way and turn the other cheek if it's dealing with someone who can fight back. All of that rage and that fury is only ever against defenseless people. That's what it's done for decades, if not centuries, in the global south. Now, that dragon always backs down from a fair fight. But when it has disproportionate power, then that dragon gets brave. And now that's you. You're the defenseless. You're the defenseless enemies that it wants to scorch. Because the global south can fight back now. It's like I told you before. It's that black bear coming back to its den hungry because there's too many wolves in the forest and it can't find anything to eat. So it comes back home to eat its own cubs. That's what this is. Just like I've been telling you.
Because our children are strong, and our grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children's children will be strong. And what will you leave behind?
Children?
Nothing. Nothing.
Grandchildren?
To our
Children's
enemies,
children.
you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness.
Okay, so he's talking about the next 3 generations. Like I said, it's another forever war, but fought domestically against the American people themselves. He's talking the language of total annihilation and total dehumanization. And again, he's talking about you. He's not talking about anyone else. He's talking about other Americans.
We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination, we have vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now, generation by generation. And we will defend this world. We will defend goodness. We will defend light. We will defend virtue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And they're going to defend that. That's basically what he's saying. Sydney Sweeney has great genes and they're going to defend that. Understand, when he's talking, he says the world. When he says the world, he's talking about his penthouse. And he's talking about his bubble of wealth and privilege. That's the goodness and the beauty and the virtue and the light. His wealth and privilege and his class. And he's not going to let anyone take that away from him. That's what he's talking about.
You cannot terrify us. You cannot frighten us. You cannot threaten us. Because we are on the side of goodness. We are on the side of God. And to my friend Charlie, to my brother Charlie, I know you are looking at us right now. I know you're watching Erica right now. I know you're watching your children right now. And I promise you, my friend, I promise you, my brother, we will prove worthy of your sacrifice. We will prove worthy of your time on earth. We will make you proud. We will finish the job. We will defeat the forces of darkness and evil. And we will stand every day for what is true, what is beautiful, what is good. And we will achieve victory for our children, for our families, for our civilization, and for every patriot who stands with us. God bless you.
Okay, so there it is. I told you, their God is another being entirely. He says that they're on the side of God. And that God believes like they believe, which means it's no kind of God. It's a hateful, spiteful, vengeful, cruel, dehumanizing, vicious God that they believe in. So yes, just like the Romans, just like the Athenians, just like the slave masters of Philadelphia and Monticello. Imagine cynically using the death, the murder of his supposed friend to try to incite division and revenge, to try to threaten and boast and to negate the humanity and the basic human value of everyone who disagrees with his toxic doctrine. All emotions must be channeled into hatred and anger, aggression, intimidation. This is their reflex. It's the reflex of that whole so-called civilization. And always, always against the weak. Always against the vulnerable. Always against the least of these. Right? He's letting you know that you're superfluous. He said you're nothing. He said you are nothing, you have nothing, and you will leave nothing. And they will see to that. Obviously what he said was meant to provoke. I mean, it's not only meant to provoke his base and Trump's base and Kirk's base, but to provoke everyone else. You understand? The threats and the insults and the intimidation, all of that is meant to provoke you because they want a war. Yes, they want a war. They want a war and they're going to do it. They're going to do whatever they're going to do anyway, but it will be easier for them if you holler back. You understand? You see, they always want to frame their abuse. They always want to frame their abuse as retribution, as defense, as revenge, as fighting back. That's what makes Charlie Kirk's death so useful for them. Because then they can do everything that they were planning to do anyway. They can do it, but now they can do it under the pretense of fighting back. You understand? It's the same as what they did with the so-called war on terror. Just the same thing that Israel is doing right now. It's just like an abusive cop who uses the slightest resistance as a justification for an extrajudicial killing. They can say, you made me do it, even though it's exactly what they wanted to do. And it's exactly what they were going to do anyway. Even if you didn't resist, he was still going to shoot you anyway. Just like the Israelis were still going to do in Gaza, whatever what they're doing now, they were going to do that anyway. No, I told you before, you need to disengage. Don't be provoked. Disengage. You need to disconnect. You need to focus yourself on building community sovereignty, local sufficiency zones. Because what's coming is coming either way. And I've told you this many, many times. Your government is now nothing but a colonial enforcer for the national owners and controllers of global financialized capital. Your government are mercenaries. You need to understand yourselves over there in America as an occupied country and act accordingly. Meaning build autonomous communities. As much as you can, build autonomous communities and try to build bridges, again, I'll say it, and connections with people who share your beliefs, who share your so-called race, your so-called ethnicity, your economic circumstances, and so on, people in the global south. You know, you need to connect with the global majority that you're a part of. And that by being a part of that global majority, it makes you a minority in America. But you need to identify with that majority as a member of that majority. Not just identify, but actually reach out, actually build relationships, connect. Start independently providing for your community, yourselves, through your own supply chains with Global South providers. I said this before. In my opinion, the African American community in America and other communities, other so-called minority communities like the Hispanic community, so-called the so-called Latino community, you need to come up with frameworks for recognition as diaspora communities of the BRICS countries. You understand? You need to try to propose some kind of mechanisms for how BRICS can actually recognize, can actually work with the populations of the countries in BRICS, but who live in the diaspora. That's how you need to identify yourselves and organize yourselves. Forget about identifying as an American. America doesn't see you that way. That's a one-sided relationship. It's like you put on a jersey, you know, you put on the jersey of some sports team, and you think that that makes you a part of the team. It doesn't. That doesn't make you a part of the team. Well, that's your so-called citizenship. That's what your citizenship is. It's just a jersey that you buy at the gift shop. It doesn't entitle you to play the game. You don't get to play on the field. You know, you need to realize that not everyone in the world is as sick as the society that you are living in. You need to understand this. No, see, in that cult of a country that you live in, they tell you that it's no better anywhere else, when actually it's better almost everywhere else. Not everyone is as insane and as monstrous as your government. Not everyone is as predatory and as psychopathic and as human-hating as your elites. No, it's completely abnormal. And yes, there is international law. Your rights are being violated under international law in America every single day. Your whole life over there is abuse. Your whole life over there is psychological abuse, economic abuse, spiritual abuse, intellectual abuse. And you ought to be supporting the invocation of Article 6. You ought to be supporting that, to kick America out of the United Nations, so that the United Nations could actually finally be under the control of the rest of the planet, of the sane people on the planet, instead of under the control of the United States. Then the United Nations, inshallah, could actually hold America accountable for all of its crimes all around the world, and its crimes against you. That's why I'm saying you need to start building communities that are autonomous outposts of the Global South, just located in America. You understand what I'm saying? Consider yourselves as part of the global community. Act like it. Learn from them. Work with them. Think about your human rights and your civil rights in terms of the global standards and the global norms under international law, not under your so-called constitution that isn't even worth the paper it's printed on. It was written by people who didn't even believe a word that they wrote, and the people today who swear to uphold the Constitution, when they take office, they don't believe a word of it either. But there are people around the world, there are countries around the world who genuinely, sincerely believe in law, who believe in human rights, who believe in civil rights, who believe in justice. And you need to connect yourself with them. You need to align yourself with them. You need to identify with them, join them, collaborate and coordinate with them. Why, in 2025, if you're walking around here calling yourself an American, you look like someone on the deck of the Titanic, making fun of the people in the life rafts because their boats are so much smaller. You understand how ridiculous that is? Yes, and while we're on the subject, you remember how the Titanic, when it was sinking, how it turned completely vertical, and then it split in half, right? Well, that's how you can understand your right and your left in America. The Democrats and the Republicans are just the two broken sides of the Titanic, and they're both going down. Neither one of them is going to save you. Neither one of them is going to save you. They're both sinking. So get you a life raft. You need to get on one of those little dinghies and save yourself. Because when you have these people literally in your face calling you nothing, you best believe they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you at all. They're not going to protect you. They're not going to save you. They're already calling you nothing just so that they can get busy drowning you and no one will complain about it. No one will raise any fuss about drowning you. I'm telling you, you need to understand what's happening. Don't misunderstand what's happening. There's no fight here. You can't fight against the fact that the ship is sinking. That's not a fight situation. That's a survive situation. That's an escape situation. There's no fight to be had in this scenario. And I'm not telling you to flee the country, even though that's what a lot of you are doing. There's a lot of Americans. We're seeing a lot of that recently. They're already doing it. More and more Americans are seeking refuge in the global south. They're coming here for asylum. But not everyone is able to do that. So you need to flee your country even while you're in it. You understand me? Carve out your own places there. Carve out your own communities. Like I said, sufficiency zones. You can get out of there even while you're still there. I'm not talking about solidarity as a slogan. Most people just use it as a slogan, but I'm talking about practical reality, real solidarity, economic solidarity. Because if you can't escape the country itself, you can't escape the system as much as you can. Escape the system together and try to connect with sane people outside your country and outside your system. You can't fight what's happening because it's going to happen one way or the other. And the way things are playing out, you can't blame one side or the other side. You can't blame one individual or another individual. You can't say it's because of Trump. You can't say it's because of, I don't know, Elon Musk or any particular individual, any particular politician, or any particular party. It's happening because it's an inevitability and it must happen. There is nothing that you can do about it. You can't fight it. You can't reverse it. The only thing you can do is prepare yourself for impact.